The document lists 197 stations in New South Wales which will dump ticket-selling staff for automatic ticket machines. More than 30 stations in the Hunter and Central Coast are affected. Member for Lake Macquarie, Jeff Hunter, says small stations like Awabba and Dora Creek will end up with no staff at all.
I think it's going to affect the service the public's rendered at our railway stations. First of all, their safety's endangered. The stations are left unattended, the toilets close, they become a haven for vandals and louts.
The General Manager of City Rail, Colin Cowell, admitted the ticket machine program was coming in, but it was about a year away. He said any questions of staffing levels were yet to be considered. The rail issue has been especially hot in Lake Macquarie after the Toronto line was shut down by the government. Jeff Hunter says more services will be trimmed along the Newcastle to Fassifern route.
Is going to be abolished. That will be replaced by the Sydney trains that run from Newcastle to Sydney, but is only going to offer a service to Teralba, Boorigal, Cockle Creek, Adamstown and Katara stations of one train every 2 hours. It's just not good enough.
A government spokesman said new timetables are being prepared, but no details could be released. Peter Ryan, NBN News.
Both sides have probably been the form teams throughout the year. They've both had long runs of being undefeated and coming towards the semi-finals and then into the grand final. I think it's probably the game of the season.
Some great clashes in the minor grades too.
Yes, very much so. The game in second grade between Wanderers and Maitland should be a rip snorter. It's pretty well both got full packs of first grade forwards.
Voters responded strongly to the pre-election Have Your Say campaign, or were reluctant to chance a $50 fine. In the city of Lake Macquarie, 62 candidates stood for council, while there were 5 in the running for the mayor's job. Incumbent Ivan Welsh lodged his preference, but wasn't feeling overconfident in the face of a concerted effort by arch-rival Doug Carley.
The party machine's out here in force, and as independents we don't have a machine, so that's one of the reasons why I don't think we should have party politics in local government. But when the machine gets out, I think it just rolls over everybody, steamrolls them, so I'm a little bit worried about that.
Whoever comes out with the numbers will face what could be a difficult 4-year term. Local councils are now under the performance spotlight, with their operational efficiencies judged against those of other councils around the state.
The changes that are going to be made to the Local Government Act, that'll certainly give people something to think about and work with, because they'll be more responsible and have more authority, I guess, or more autonomy.
In Newcastle, Labor Lord Mayor John McNaughton was challenged from within his own party and from a solid groundswell of Citizen and Green Group candidates. Voters also exercised their opinion on whether local representation should be based on a ward system. Voting trends should begin emerging later tonight.
In the lead-up to the Hunter Smog Summit, local council aldermen had kicked up a stink about the state government's ill timing. They said the event was a whitewash, being held only 2 days after the local government elections. And today, the brickbats continued. But Environment Minister Tim Moore has rejected the criticisms as mere politicking. When the dirt wasn't being thrown politically, the discussion centred on the grime and pollution in the Hunter's air. The seminar covered subjects as diverse as the health implications of poor air to the community reaction to power station emissions in the Upper Hunter. But Newcastle Alderman Frank Rigby slammed the State Pollution Control Commission for what he said was inadequate monitoring of bulk unloading areas at Kooragang. Alderman Rigby alleged gauges that automatically stopped the operation in high winds had been turned off for a week, allowing clouds of dust to blow over Stockton. The alderman directed an ultimatum at the SPCC if it failed to act. Mr Moore immediately ordered a Control Commission officer to inspect the Kooragang facility, and the equipment was found to be fully operational. However, earlier in the month, the company, TNT Bulk, had breached its licence conditions and an infringement notice will be served. Scott Bevan, NBN News.
The who's who of the racing fraternity from Sydney and the Newcastle Hunter and Central Coast Racing Associations mulled over what promises to be 2 great days of racing, beginning tomorrow with the running of the $100,000 NBN Cameron Handicap. And during the course of the luncheon, the annual awards were presented, with Max Lees again winning the Leading Trainers Trophy. Darren McClellan was a popular winner of the Leading Apprentices Prize after some dazzling displays. And top hoop Robert Thompson, now riding in Hong Kong, was once again the leading jockey, steering home 87 winners for the season. The top 2-year-old horse was Jester Royale, owned by John Hawkins, who was a close second to Torres in the Newcastle Coca-Cola Classic earlier this year, and for his brilliant run in the Brambles Classic. There wasn't much doubt about the horse of the year, Fire Oak, now trained by David Hayes. Fire Oak was beaten a long neck by St Jude in the Spring Champion Stakes at Randwick. And then turned the tables with a stunning win in the VRC Derby at Flemington. Conversation then switched to the NBN Cameron Handicap, and as usual, it's hard to settle on one fancied runner.
Road to Glory.
Quick score. It's down on the weights, and I really think that it's an improver.
Mate, I think Road to Glory is special.
NBN's Gary Harley tries to unlock the mystery of the classic race.
The blaze is burning on more than 3 fronts, scattering firefighters' resources. At Toronto, residents at the Leisureland Caravan Park helped stop the outbreak just 30 metres from their homes. One fireman was overcome by the intense smoke. It's estimated more than 300 hectares of bush have been torched between Rathmines and Fassifern. Winds gusting at 40 knots carried embers, igniting spot fires and making the firefighters' job almost impossible.
At this time we haven't got this fire, it's controlling us at the moment.
Incredibly, no property has been damaged, but tonight firemen are backburning to protect the Toronto Wreckers Yard and houses along the bushland fringe. It's hoped the fire will burn itself out. As a precaution, Wangi Road at Toronto has been closed to traffic. Fires have also been a problem on the eastern side of Lake Macquarie. Tom Hilston reports. Nobody likes paying tax, and talk of a new slug affecting goods and services has consumers running for cover. But according to the State Chamber of Commerce, GST or consumption tax is a fairer system which stops the cheats and tax avoiders.
Everybody will be paying on the amounts of money they spend on their expenditure.
The Chamber has released a booklet on consumption tax detailing their approach, a 15% rate on all goods and services, with the exception of financial transactions and housing rents. The Chamber says some products, such as motor cars and washing powders, are already taxed more than 20%. These wholesale taxes would be dropped, and hence consumption tax would mean a reduction for some products. But on the whole, prices would rise, a hike compensated by reductions in personal tax, with low-income earners getting supplementary financial help. But social service groups say lower-income earners will carry an unfair burden, paying the same tax on products as high-income earners. The Chamber says that's not the case.
The top 10% income earners currently spend twice as much on food and 6 times as much on clothing as do the lowest 10%. So therefore, the wealthy are going to pay far more GST than will the lower 10%.
The tax is a hot political issue. Bob Carr's campaign in the state election against the system is believed to have won him important votes. In the Hunter, Labor was returned in a landslide. Peter Ryan, NBN News.
The 19th Australasian Chemical Engineering Conference is not blinding the 300 delegates with science, but focusing on the recession we had to have. Dubbed Chemica 91, the conference's main theme is the development of export technology and how it could help Australia climb out of the economic doldrums. The 3-day conference, which has been held twice before in Newcastle, has been a homecoming of sorts for 2 of today's guest speakers. Shell Australia's Chief Executive Officer Rick Charlton was brought up in the area, and Brian Lowton is a former boss of BHP's Newcastle Steelworks. Mr. Lowton, who is now the Deputy Chairman of BHP, spoke of industries building a competitive advantage through export technology. He says the Hunter, with its range of well-established primary industries, is in a good position to beat the tough times.
What we have to do is build on our strengths and seek to increase the profitability, competitiveness and performance of those successful industries that we do have, and then use those to expand our base.
Mr. Lowton says industries are helping themselves develop a competitive edge for both domestic and world markets, but they could be given better government support.
The performance featured a host of singers from high schools throughout the region. Soprano soloist Heidi Braun from Warners Bay High captivated the audience in the Hunter Singers' rendition of Summertime. Later, the program turned patriotic. A special appearance by the Hunter Consort of Voices won over the audience. With this year's Expo another huge success, planning is already underway for 1992's musical feast.
It is 4 days since the local government elections and counting is still underway in Newcastle and Lake Macquarie. This afternoon, polling officers were distributing the preferences of excluded candidates, hoping to come up with the 16 names in Lake Macquarie and 12 in Newcastle needed to form a council.
Bell, 7. Tate, 2.
In Newcastle, ALP candidates John Manning, Dennis Nichols, Frank Rigby and Peter Brett have been added. So too has Green candidate John Sutton. With 2 positions to fill, it appears independent Margaret Gumas may slip in, with independent Vic Bell and Morgan Jones of the ALP vying for the final place. But it is clear the ALP has a majority in council. In Lake Macquarie, John Adams of the ALP has been added to Ward 1, while Jill Hall of the same party has been elected in Ward 2. In Ward 3, Laurie Manning of the ALP and Green Greg Piper have taken out seats, while in Ward 4, independent John Kilpatrick and ALP candidate Mercia Buck are in. Counting in both councils should be completed within a few hours.
When the people of Wyong went to the polls on Saturday, they drastically changed the makeup of their council. 4 new faces were elected, including Sylvia Turner, a candidate on the Ratepayers and Residents ticket, but best known for her opposition to the planned expansion of Chemcon's North Wyong chemical complex.
I've lived on the Central Coast virtually all my life and I love the area, and I'd hate to see it ruined with chemical factories.
Party politics will play almost no role in the Wyong Shire. Tony Sheridan and Cliff Russell will represent the ALP, Doug Eaton and Tim Farrell the Liberals. The remaining 6 councillors are all independents, and Ms Turner is confident she'll get strong support on key environmental issues, including the Chemcon proposal.
I think with the new blood in there, once they read the information that is to hand, they should vote that way.
Things are less clear in Gosford, where counting will continue until at least tomorrow night. Already elected are the ALP's Tony Sansom and Lynn Bockholt, Liberal stalwart Malcolm Brooks, and environmentally minded independents Robert Bell and James Adams. Only 7 candidates remain in the race for the last 5 positions, with the ALP's Belinda Neal a likely winner, and independents Chris Holstein and Anne Howe also in a strong position. The result is already being hailed as a victory for the Green faction.
Judging on the result or the way the count's going, that people who have those leanings being elected, yes, they will certainly change the way that the council thinks about things.
Mr Crean was here for a familiarisation tour of local mining facilities, his first visit to the city since becoming the minister. But the highest rating issue with Hunter coal miners is not the industry itself, but the whole industrial legislation. Yesterday, miners downed tools and marched with thousands of protesters, angry at state government plans to restructure award working conditions.
That what the state government really does need to do is to wake up to itself and recognise that what it considers to be appropriate may be in fact hampering progress.
The former union boss supported the demonstrators' calls to retain the system he as ACTU boss had worked so aggressively to create. Mr Crean was also critical of the state government's plans to privatise Elcom mines, which are paying their way. He said the priority is to be internationally competitive, be that under public or private ownership.
Staff at Newcastle University are busily packing the work of 72 students of the Faculty of Art, Design and Communication. They'll be loaded onto a truck tomorrow for the journey to Melbourne, where they'll go on display with the work of students from 19 other institutions at the Royal Exhibition Building. The exhibition is the first of its kind, and it's an event lecturer David Cubby is very excited about.
It's going to be a big event in Melbourne. There'll be and it really is a national event. There'll be a lot of people going through the exhibition and getting work up on a national level and putting yourself on the map in the way that this exhibition is very important.
The exhibition will be highly competitive, with $15,000 in prizes for those chosen as the best in 10 areas, ranging from painting to sculpture, ceramics to film. Innovative pictures like Nick Mikcevich's Identity Mutilation will help individuals build their professional reputation. These were done with a Polaroid photograph and a colour photocopier. Visual arts student Anthony Assef has submitted his abstract oil painting Night Watch, and this haunting image is the work of Danny Gillies.
In a situation like that, there's a lot of transaction done in terms of people expressing interest in the work of, say, graphic designers, industrial designers, as well as paintings and sculptures that will be on display.
This is the sort of precision that's made the Hunter Australia's strongest region in the sport of tumbling. The area will boast 7 representatives in the upcoming Pan-Pacific titles, all of them state or national champions.
Our club is very competitive. We're all of a pretty high standard and we all are very close competitors.
But when the team travels to Bendigo, all attention will be focused on defeating the overseas athletes. Powerful teams from the US and Japan will give the locals a taste of world-class competition.
It is going to be very difficult because the competitors from overseas are a lot higher standard than us because they've got better equipment. So, we'll just do our best and see how we compare against them.
With the Australian team dominated by hunter tumblers, national pride rests firmly on these flying feet.